try to do a get ready with me, but I cannot multitask for anything.
Who am I to the sugar pie? I don't know yet. She could be a hoe for sure.
Hey guys, I'm going to be talking to you guys about traveling during COVID. So as you guys know, we are experiencing a full-on global pandemic currently at this moment. Some of us have still had to travel for work, me, and pleasure, also me. But you can't shame me. I've been safe.
This is my first time. It's getting ours.
I'm gonna teach you guys a few things that I've learned during my traveling experience during the pandemic. And yeah, I hope this information helps you. During this pandemic, I've traveled within the US and outside of the US as well. So I'm gonna give you a breakdown of both those things. But first things first, let's start with prep. Before you go anywhere, the first thing you should be thinking about is packing a ton of masks, because you just never know. So that means like buy a specific pack for your travel. And I'm not talking about just the cloth mask, especially if you're traveling to the airport. Cloth masks don't always do like, you know, the full job. You want something like this, okay? You can get cute colors now too, okay? You don't have to stick with the plain old medical blue. So definitely get a pack of masks before you go anywhere, okay? Because you just never know. Of course too, you want to have gloves, hand sanitizer, and wipes as well as your mask. And you can have a hand sanitizer as big as you want it. Airports are accepting that now. They just have to like double check them to make sure, you know, I guess no liquid bombs or whatever. But you can bring something over 3 fluid ounces through the airport if it's hand sanitizer. My first flight I took during the pandemic was a Delta flight. And that leads us to our next topic, airlines. I've been paying very close attention to how airlines have been handling the pandemic because, you know, you want to make sure your life is in someone's hands when you board a plane. You know what I mean? Someone else's hands. Like, you're trusting that airline to have the right pilot and have the right people take care of you. So, of course, during a global pandemic, you want to make sure they're taking care of you in that way as well. So, I'm going to rank the airlines that I have flown. And Delta is definitely number one because they weren't allowing anyone to sit next to each other. So if you were in like a 3-row, or if you were in a row with 3 seats, they would not occupy the middle seat. So it would just be 2 people in that row. So that gives, you know, space. Granted, it's not 6 feet distance, but it's better than, you know, having you cramped together. And I saw that on American Airlines flight. So I've been staying away from American Airlines. I'll never forget the videos I saw when, like, you know, things first started popping off and American Airlines had packed flights, and I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, that's so inconsiderate. Like, people are so money hungry, especially airlines. So beware of that. So I haven't flown American yet, and I don't plan to, just for that fact. So Delta is number one on my list. Second is, I don't know, United and JetBlue are kind of in a tie, because United was seating people next to each other, but they were also giving wipes, and I was allowed to move seats once I asked the attendant. Now the thing with that is, since I've been flying, and I've done a lot of flying during the pandemic, I'm not gonna lie, back and forth from New York to LA, I've gone to Aruba and stuff like that, I haven't sat next to anyone on a flight this entire time, because luckily for me, I've been flying with airlines that don't overbook, and so there are extra seats, extra rows, even sometimes, and I've never had to sit next to anybody. I've only had my own row to myself every time I've flown these last couple months during the pandemic. So amazing, happy about it, not complaining. And JetBlue, they just don't overbook, and it's they also give you, I can't remember if JetBlue, I don't think JetBlue gives you wipes, but I just know they don't overbook, so I've never had to like sit next to anyone on a JetBlue flight either. And also JetBlue has like the movies and stuff already in, like that's something that they had even before the pandemic. They just always have great movies, and there's always TVs in the seat 9 times out of 10. So that's why I just like JetBlue as an airline in general. And it used to be my number one, honestly, but I feel like Delta honestly handled the pandemic the best because they gave wipes and they weren't overbooking seats, so perfect. So that's my airline thing. So it goes Delta, JetBlue, and United are kind of on the same playing field, and then I haven't flown American. I haven't flown Alaskan yet either. Definitely not playing with Spirit. I haven't ever flown Spirit. I wouldn't even know what to tell you. And I think those are it for like the airlines I've flown. Because I even flew JetBlue when I flew out the country. So yeah, but all in all, that's what I'm giving you for the airlines. So next I'm gonna get into COVID testing and just like quarantining in general. I believe the first place I went when I traveled was Atlanta. And Atlanta was so high risk when I had to go there for work. So when I came back, you know, I had to sign a thing saying I would quarantine for 14 days. It's like a declaration. Now the only thing is they don't follow up with you about this. Like I was flying back into New York and they did not follow up to see like if I really quarantined for 14 days. It's just like, I guess, to cover their ass, to make sure they said it to you. And if you don't do it, that's on you. But yeah, so there was that. I had to sign that waiver. So anytime you travel to a high risk place back to, I guess, wherever you came from, you are 9 times out of 10 gonna have to sign a 14-day quarantine waiver. And I think you should sign it. Even if you don't follow the rules, you should, just because they also use those declarations as, or at least I know New York does, as like trackers. So the reason why New York was able to get their COVID numbers down, you know, drastically is because they were doing a lot of tracking. So they hired people to contact other people to let them know, like, hey, we're trying to trace how like this group of people got COVID, basically. And, you know, they call you, let you know that you might be at risk, you got to take a test or something, or like you may have COVID because you came into contact with so-and-so. So that's how they got their numbers down so fast, because all the tracing and like contacting people and like, you know. So definitely if you travel to a high risk place and come back to your hometown, make sure you sign those waivers, just because, you know, maybe they can reach out to you and contact you because you might have come in contact with someone who had COVID. You know what I mean? And then for testing. So I traveled to Aruba. And in Aruba, before I could even like get out of the airport, in customs, they make you sit on this line and you have to take a COVID test. You can also take one prior to boarding the plane back home in New York. Like you had the option to just take it and then bring your test results, but you had to like, I don't know, I guess you have to coordinate that with customs basically, because I'm sure they have like a specific doctor you have to go to, a specific place. However, boom, I got off the flight, went through customs and took my COVID test. They stuck the thing in my nose. I teared up. It sucked, but it was quick, and I got it done with. I have not had COVID this entire time, so thank God. We're going to keep it that way. We're going to stay healthy, clean, all that, sanitize, blah, blah. So those are things to think about when traveling, you know. When you travel outside of the U.S., they are going to make you take a COVID test wherever you land, so be mindful of that. On days that aren't, like, super popular travel days, so I feel like Tuesday was a really good day. I'm telling you, I went through JFK security in 3 minutes, and that is unheard of, okay? I'm talking about international airport, I went through security in 3 minutes because, like, you know, a lot of people aren't traveling, which makes sense. If you don't have to, I would not suggest traveling, okay? Like, don't travel too much for pleasure, like, you know, if you're gonna do it, just be safe. Be safe, be considerate, because even if maybe you're asymptomatic or something, you can give it to someone else. So, you know, just be careful, you know, be careful. It's not just your life that you're putting at risk if you get sick, and it's other people's, because this is so contagious. Boom. So, yeah, the airport security has been super quick. Like I said, I haven't had to sit next to anyone on my flights. I'm not saying you're always going to get that lucky. I don't know what's going to happen the next time I fly. Like, I'm flying back home to New York for Thanksgiving, so we'll see what happens then. But, yeah, no, all in all, I've been having, like, you know, good experiences because I've been properly choosing my airlines I fly with, the flight times, and just, you know, like taking it more serious than I did before COVID. And like I said, bring your own wipes, because sometimes, you know, some airlines don't provide that. And if you are going to fly with one of the airlines I hadn't listed, then, you know, just be careful, because you don't know what they offer. If you have any more questions about how I traveled during COVID or anything about the airlines or whatever, comment below. Like this video if I taught you something new about traveling during COVID. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I promise I'm gonna keep you guys updated with everything going on. I know you're waiting for that I moved across the country video. It's coming, I promise, all right? Thanks, soldiers. Mwah. Have a good one.